Good evening, everyone. Welcome to our Parent and Community Advisory Session for District 4. I am Dr. Sheila Jackson, Director of our Department of Family and Community Partnerships, and it is my pleasure to welcome all of you to join us tonight. To get us started, our supervisor of the Office of Interpreting and Translation will introduce our process for simultaneous interpretation as well as for ASL. I'd like to welcome Dr. Jennifer Love.
Good afternoon. Buenas tardes.
Next slide.
There will be simultaneous interpretation available this evening, also interpretation in American Sign Language. Hay interpretación simultánea disponible en español y también en el criollo haitiano. Can we advance to the next slide? To note, accessing on a computer, para accesar en una computadora, en la parte baja de la pantalla habrá un globo de interpretación. Haga clic en ese globo y seleccione Spanish. En un dispositivo móvil, en la parte baja de la pantalla, toca el icono de elipsis en la parte baja derecha. Gracias.
As we get started this evening, we'd like to invite all of our participants to please sign in. We invite you to sign in because we want you to be able to stay informed of other engagement opportunities that will be happening in PGCPS. So in the chat box tonight, we will drop the link in asking everyone to please sign in. And I think it's dropped in now. So please take a moment to sign in tonight. Next slide, please. We also invite you to join us in practicing our norms for this evening. This is an opportunity for all of us to share our questions, any concerns that we may have as we move forward in Prince George's County Public Schools. We ask you to please practice mutual respect, engage transparently, listen for understanding, assume positive intentions because we are always working in the best interests of our students in Prince George's County Public Schools. And we ask you to please offer suggestions. So you may have questions that you want to ask, but please also offer suggestions to help us as we move forward in our planning. Next slide. Our agenda for this evening is going to be very concise. We begin starting on time and ending on time, but things for you to know as we're working together tonight is that the session will be recorded and the recordings are going to be posted so that anyone in your district who might miss this meeting will have an opportunity to go back and view it in the future. There will be no chat in operation. However, all participants will have an opportunity to ask questions in the Q&A box that you see at the bottom of your screen, and we'll have more directions for that in just a moment. Also, if you want to ask additional questions or make even more contributions to the conversation, there's a link on this slide. We are going to copy it and paste it into the chat box as well, so that you can have additional comments, additional questions that you may want to ask that our staff will work to answer for you. Next slide. And this is how to submit a question tonight that will be answered by our superintendent. So you click on the Q&A box at the bottom of your screen. It may be hidden under the button that says other or more. If you click on that button, you'll see Q&A. Once you click on Q&A, a box opens up for you to type a question to the superintendent. And at that time, you may identify, you may add your name, or you may remain anonymous, but questions will be answered tonight in order. And we ask you to please click send to make sure that those questions are populated into our portal. Next slide. So our agenda, again, we like to start on time because we want to honor your time and end on time promptly at 7:30. So as you can see, this is our opening, just some housekeeping to set the pace for the evening. But you will hear directly from our interim superintendent, Dr. Sean Joseph. Then we will enter a Q&A period, and then we'll have our closing. And in our closing, we ask that everyone participates in our evaluation, and that will be dropped in at the end as well. Thank you. And so, with no further ado, I'd like to present to you our interim superintendent, Dr. Sean Joseph. Let's welcome him.
Okay, thank you, Dr. J. Like I need some theme music after with that introduction. I don't know. But it feels maybe do a little shaft or something. I don't know. I'm just joking. Just joking. Good to see everybody. Hello, District 4. It is great to be here with you today. Do we have our board members online? If so, if we can get them in to allow them to say a word. You know, we have an amazing Board of Education in Prince George's County. They work tirelessly to try to help get things right. And Lord knows there's a lot of work that we must do. So, you know, I'm thankful and look forward to working with our board because, you know, we're in this together. This isn't a one person show. It takes a collective effort. And you know, I don't know if Amy is here or
I am here, Dr. Joseph.
yeah. Well, I knew she'd be here, so I was just
I am here. Yep, I couldn't miss it. Thank you so much. I just wanted to say thank you to you and Dr. Jackson for hosting 9 of these virtual events to ensure that all of our families and students can participate. As Dr. Joseph said, residents of District 4 and all of Prince George's County, my name is Amy Olivo. It is my honor to serve as the Board of Education member for District 4. I was just sworn in at the end of April, so I'm new to this role, but I've already been hard at work on your behalf, attending graduation ceremonies, speaking at career days, and celebrating our own Templeton Elementary on their Science Bowl win this past school year. So I just want to say thank you to all of our families for taking time out of your summer to engage with Dr. Joseph and with PGCPS this evening. And please don't hesitate to reach out to me directly with your questions, your ideas, and your concerns. Thank you so much.
well, thank you. Thank you. Listen, we can't do this work without you, you know, our families. And you know, I think we've got a board that's willing to listen and willing to advocate. And I think in this moment in education in this country, communities really have to come together. That the power is in the hands of our local community. So it's great to see, you know, over 118 people on this call. Because we really got to organize. Like this is a year where we have to mobilize, we have to organize. We've got to be clear about what we want to do first, second, and third, and we've got to hold one another accountable, right? I mean, collective accountability has to be here if we're going to move our district forward. So let me tell you a little bit about myself, and then I'll tell you a little bit about what I know about the great District 4 here. You know, I got into education back in 1996. We can go to the next slide. But I got into education in about 1996 after graduating from Lincoln University, which is America's oldest historically Black college, degree granting Black college, right? Founded in 1854. And, you know, I was a biology major at Lincoln University my junior year. And I got connected with a program called Upward Bound. All right, Upward Bound brings students on college campuses to get them ready, let them know that they belong there, and give them some, you know, college level experiences. And I was supposed to be tutoring calculus that summer. And they hired a bunch of science people and asked would anybody shift to, focus on English. I figured that'd be the easiest money I ever made trying to help someone write a paper than explaining the derivative of a function. So I was like, I'm on it. I'm ready to go. Long story short, a student from Philadelphia High School named Gary who struggled reading, and I had never met someone who struggled reading like that before. My experience in growing up on Long Centralized New York, even though it was a challenged community, I was in honors classes with students. So, when I met Gary, I spoke with a guy named Mr. Bailey, Herschel Bailey, who's the head of Upward Bound, and said, I thought, Gary was messing around with me. He really struggled, reading this book. And Mr. Bailey shared that it was not uncommon for students coming from urban districts to struggle reading, particularly coming from Philadelphia at that time. And I remember I felt like that was one of the first times God spoke with me, because I just didn't understand in my spirit, how do we put people on the moon and not teach children how to read, like in this country? And I winded up switching my major junior year. So if I you'll notice I graduated in December of 1996 because I had to catch up because I didn't know I was going to be an English major, but winded up becoming an English major. And since then, I mean, I've been an English teacher, a team leader. I was a reading specialist at Roberto Clemente Middle School and Kingsview Middle School in Montgomery County. Then I became a dean of students at Benjamin Banneker Middle School in Montgomery County, an assistant principal at Redland Middle School in Montgomery County, and then principal of Roberto Clemente Middle School. And I was principal from 2005 to 2009. In 2009, I was the Maryland State Principal of the Year for middle schools. And then I got promoted to supervise 34 schools down in Silver Spring. So that Blair, Einstein, Northwood, Kennedy cluster of high schools, middle schools, and elementary schools. I wound up leaving Montgomery County after 16 years of service, and I went to Seaford, Delaware, which is a small rural district in Delaware. If you've ever gone to Rehoboth Beach, you've probably passed through Seaford. It's on Route 1 driving down there. Did that for 2 years and then had the opportunity of a lifetime to come here to Prince George's County, where I was the deputy superintendent for teaching and learning, so like chief academic officer here. I did that for 2 years and wound up going to Nashville, Tennessee, where I was superintendent of schools for 3 years. And once I left Nashville, I ended up going back to New York to Fordham University, and I was a visiting associate professor there. So I literally flew every week from Nashville to LaGuardia, then took a cab from LaGuardia to the Lincoln Center, then walked to the subway, then took the subway to Penn Station, and then took a train from Penn Station to Long Island, where my mom lives. And then I would fly out of Islip on Long Island and then do it again. I did that for an entire year. So that just tells you, I am a true West Indian. I got 3 jobs. I don't mind doing a lot of running. And that's the type of person you need here because there's a lot of stuff happening. But after a year of that, the pandemic hit, and I had the great opportunity to accept a tenure track position at Howard University, where I have been for the last 5 years. I have been an assistant professor teaching the politics of education and urban education course and in educational technology class. And then I run an urban superintendents academy there. Over the past 5 years, we've had an opportunity to place about 23 different superintendents around the country. And I'd spent a lot of time supporting superintendents around the country prior to this opportunity of a lifetime to come back and serve this amazing county. And the why is, one, I feel like the board is strong and good. I wouldn't come back if I thought that we had a challenged board. I'm 50 years old. I got 30 years in. I choose what I want to do in life. Let me say it that way. And I think, but the working with this board was encouraging to me, because I saw we've just got a very capable board. 2, I think we've got a great county executive and a great county council here that really want to focus on education. And three, this felt like home. I mean, I left early after 2 years of serving. And so having the opportunity to come back and actually do the work and do it in a moment where I feel like everybody wants to work together was just, I think, an opportunity that I felt like I couldn't turn down at this time. So here I am, and it is amazing to have the opportunity to be here and speak with you tonight because District 4 has it going on. I mean, Bladensburg, Lando, Glenarden, and the surrounding communities. I mean, you all have very strong school options in your region, from the tag centers to the science and technology programs, to some good charter schools, and you even have national high schools in your district. And that, it's funny that back in the 2014, 2016 school year, I was here when we developed the international school. So that was one of my charges as chief academic officer, working with the team at that time. So it's great to see 9 years later how those schools are really serving the needs of our growing English language learner and multi-language population here. Bladensburg Elementary, which is a Title I and community school, is an example of the strong school culture and leadership that we have in the district. And I love how they embrace new innovative ways to bring families and communities to the table. In June, the school brought more than 90 dads in for Legos with Dad and the the Father's Day event and hands-on STEM and family engagement activities. We've got to get our parents and our students engaged in our system in meaningful learning, and they're doing a great job doing that. We've got the two-time national Blue Ribbon Glenarden Woods Elementary School there, which was ranked #1 in the state for performance on statewide assessments out of 800 elementary schools. That is huge kudos for District 4 families and students to let people know that, some of the greatest minds in Maryland and the country are right here in Prince George's County, right here in District 4. And then, of course, you've got the great Charles Herbert Flowers High School, AKA the Mecca, even though, folks say Howard's the Mecca, but I give it to Flowers. Flowers, we're going to say Flowers is the Mecca for all intents and purposes right now, right? But it's the home to our rigorous science and technology program there. And we've got several career and technical education programs preparing students for STEM pathways, college, and career. The Flowers class of 2025 earned $60 million in scholarships. Like, that is significant. And one student completed over 1,000 hours of community service there. And of course, we've got Fairmont Heights High School, which is one of the county's first high schools established for African-American students. So that rich history of excellence of serving students, African-American students, is there at Fairmont and is rooted deep in community ties and a partnership of legacy and pride. And then, of course, the International High School at Langley Park, where students and staff are like family. The International High School is a model that provides intensive English language support alongside core academics to prepare English language learners, including many of our newly arrived immigrant students. And we prepare them both for college and/or careers. I mean, the students there speak more than 15 different languages. Spanish is the most common language, followed by French, and then a number of languages from Central America, West Africa, and the Caribbean. I mean, as you know, we're one of the most diverse school districts in the nation, with one of the largest immigrant and refugee populations in the nation. And that's something I think we should celebrate because the diversity and that students get here and really get nowhere in very few places in the country. And then, of course, that Temple Elementary that welcomes students from over 30 countries, including a large Afghan refugee community, reflecting our district's strong support for language learners and newcomers. So again, those are just some of the schools that we have. I know there are many more in the district. I just wanted to highlight a couple pride points, though we could have talked about all of our schools. But I only got an hour and 30 minutes, so I want to keep it keep it focused. But just to give you a little upgrade on school construction in your region, right? Prince George's County has the largest and second oldest facilities portfolio in the nation. So, I mean, we've got 208 schools, and many of our schools are over 50 years old. To combat a 30-year pause in construction, and an $8 billion deferred maintenance backlog, the district has undergone an unprecedented school construction program to deliver new schools more quickly, and we utilize a three-pronged approach. We have a blueprint school P3, a CIP construction and modernizations. District 4 is benefiting from both our traditional capital improvement program and the P3 model, which is the first of its kind for public-private partnerships that help us build new schools faster. Ellen Ochoa Middle School in Landover Hills last school year through our traditional capital improvement program. And in the trailblazing spirit of namesake, Dr. Ochoa, the first Latina astronaut to go to space, this beautiful new building sets a gold standard for schools across our county and the state. You know, Ochoa serves 1,200 students, reducing overcrowding and supporting enrollment growth while providing walkable middle school options for neighborhood students. And it highlights our commitment to climate action, powered by geothermal and solar energy systems that generate 111% of the school's energy needs. You also have the new Kenmore Middle School, which serves the Palmer Park, Glenarden, and Kentland neighborhoods, which opened in 2023 as part of phase 1 of the Blueprint Schools program. District 4 is also will soon see a new state-of-the-art Templeton Elementary School, which should open in August of 2026 under phase 2 of the Blueprint Schools program, with 3 floors of modern, sustainable learning spaces for our youngest learners. You know, so you've got a lot of new schools and new opportunity there, and it's just a wonderful, wonderful community to be in. So shout out to all of the high schools that we have there, and in the middle schools. You know, Ginsburg High School, again, another wonderful school, and all of the schools that we have there. So yeah, it is a lot going on, but I want to stop there to just answer some of the questions that you have, and then I'll go into some thoughts about where we're going with our 100 days. So Dr. Jackson, I'll turn it to you to ask us some of the questions that our families have.
Thank you so much, Dr. Joseph. We received a number of questions online. We have 10 here already tonight, so I'll start with those of individuals that are here. An anonymous attendee asked, please explain the bus hubs that will be implemented this school year. Will they be mandatory, and is there a fee for parents?
Oh, great. So first, there's no fee for parents. The goal of the bus hub is to reduce ride times and improve efficiency and on-time performance. And we're going to pilot it in 3 specialty schools in the fall in partnership with Parks and Planning. So, you know, right now, what happens is if you have lots of different bus stops in different communities, it takes the buses a longer time to get to the final destination. And when you have our specialty schools where students can be riding on a bus for an hour or more, the goal of the hub is to reduce the amount of times the buses need to stop going from one location to the next, and provide students with a safe space. And that's why partnering with Parks and Planning was so important, because we can have a safe location that can pick up lots of kids in one space, reduce the amount of times the bus needs to stop to hopefully get students to their schools faster. But there will be no charge for that. It's just a way of us streamlining to hopefully make the riding experience shorter and more efficient. Yeah.
Thank you. Our next question is from Connie Findley. Her question is, what is your plan to review and make changes to the current grading policy? Students in high school can pass 1 quarter and not have to do work for the rest of the school year, which is causing issues in the schools with behavior management. A possible solution is to adjust to make it required that students must pass each quarter to pass the class for the year. So a question and a suggestion.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for that question. I can tell you. So the grading policy has been in effect since I left. I mean, I think that was in that 16 school year was when we put it in place. So it's time to review it again, I will say. And what I would say is that the grading policy will be addressed this semester. I know our Chief Academic Officer, Dr. Judy White, and has been talking to me about it, and I know we are engaging the our unions, and there'll be opportunities for families to weigh in on this as well. Right? Grades have to mean something, and we've got to make sure when students walk across the stage, they know something. And you know, the policy does need to be looked at. I do think we've got to work to make adjustments. We've heard a lot of feedback from the unions and from teachers about the policy. I would like to hear from students as well. And I know I spoke with Ari, our new student board member today, and that's one of the things I wanted to talk to her and get to work with us to hear from students about as it relates to the policy. But it's on the docket to be looked at this semester. So I would say stay tuned because we'll collectively come up with some recommendations that we think will strengthen it, but we'll put it out to families for families to give us input before we bring it to the board for an actual vote.
Thank you. The next question actually is a comment from an anonymous attendee that they're very impressed with the recent executive level appointments. Excellence in all of them. So kudos, sir.
Thank you. Thank you. You know, we've got great people that have been in Prince George's County for a long time doing hard work. And sometimes I think leaders make a mistake when they come in and they overlook the talent pool that exists here. And, you know, my commitment for every position is to first look deeply within. If we can't find the excellence within, then without question, let's look outside. But I think we owe it to our staff to look within. And when I looked within this time, I mean, like I said, I was blown away. I mean, remember, another job I had was I worked for Hazard Young Attia and Associates, which is the largest search firm in America. And recently, I led searches for Atlanta Public Schools to bring in their superintendent, Montgomery, Alabama, Patterson, New Jersey, Rochester, New York, Las Vegas, Nevada, Clark County. So I was the lead on all of those searches. And so, you know, we've kind of got an eye for bringing in great people or identifying great people. And I was just so impressed with the talent that we had within our district. So it was great to be able to, you know, bring on Dr. Morrow as our chief of schools and Dr. Ryans as our chief of high schools. We brought somebody from Montgomery County who's going to be great, Dr. Dana Edwards, for our middle schools. And then Dr. Ron Watson, who's going to be my senior advisor. You know, Prince George's County is a complex political beast. Look, you know that, I know it. Let me just call it out. You notice I have somebody to help me understand and navigate both federal, state, and national politics is very much needed in this place to help move us forward. So feel good about that round of hiring. We have some more to do because one position that just closed today actually is a new position that is needed, is a associate superintendent for innovation and performance, because we've got a lot of schools that are going to be on the state watch list, and some schools have been on it for a number of years, and we just have to provide more direct support and intentionality in our schools. I think we had too many schools with too many vacancies last year that just went unnoticed, and there were students who didn't have math teachers, for example. And I think we must constantly be on top of it and constantly be observing and monitoring those classes. And so I just believe in a very tight level of supervision when we have schools that are not performing like they're supposed to, because it's a collective effort that we have to all take part and share ownership in a school's success and failure. And we just have to reduce the amount of failure that exists and not let it just go unnoticed, unchecked, and bonding. So I think parents expect us to do that, and so we will be on top of it. But you know, this new position that I'm creating, I'm going to be pulling from a multitude of different offices to just provide more coordinated supports to those schools and to those families. And so I believe we can improve outcomes by doing that. So we'll, next week, hopefully I'll be announcing who that new person will be to lead that effort. And we'll be working as a collective school system to build the right support structures to ensure that those schools are successful.
Thank you, Dr. Joseph. Just want to let you know you have about 18 more questions. So
Okay.
we be a little more concise, but I truly appreciate the information that we are all, I'm sure, are anxious to hear. Here's a question. How are the specialty programs assigned to high schools? And why is Forensics 1 program of study only available to Bowie High School students?
Great question. The short answer is we probably need to look at equity across the district to make sure that there's equal programming. And if not, we should have a solution for it. I don't know how the programs have been identified previously, but it's worthy of further discussion and exploration.
Thank you. We have a question from Cynthia Gray, but I think you'll answer it when you talk more about your 100-day plan. So Ms. Gray, please be patient with us. We will get to that question. Here's another one. Congratulations on all of your accolades. My family and I are all PGCPS attendees and graduates. The question has to do with the subject of handwriting. Are there any plans for it to be taught in our schools again?
Not that I'm aware of, no. Yeah, not that I'm aware of.
All right, thank you. The next question. Okay. Okay. Here's a question. I had to read through it. I'm sorry. Could you tell us a little bit about your family? That people want to know. Are they people who are coming with you to Prince George's County to support your work? And God bless them. So that's one of our parents who want to actually bless your family as well.
Sure. Well, like I said, I've been married for 26 years now. My wife is a professor at American University, and she runs the elementary education program. My son is a graduate of Howard University. He's working on his master's right now in finance at American University. My daughter is a junior at Spelman College. So we all, we're here. I mean, we've been in the area now. I guess came back from Nashville 5 years ago, and so the gang's all here.
Thank you. Amy Sawyer is asking, what will you be doing to support the school system finding a permanent superintendent?
Yeah, I think the goal for me right now is to just focus on the interim job. Come around, I guess I would say the beginning of the new year, I'm sure the board will identify a search firm. Once they identify the search firm, they'll go through a process and communicate that process to move through. My job is just to keep us focused and on target. If the next person comes in, the goal would be transitioning, communicating, what's been done, kind of lessons learned, and providing direct supports. Like I said, I support superintendents around the country. So if it were, asked to continue to support, if I weren't staying, then without question, then I would do whatever was needed.
Thank you. David Tansey asked us this. Lots of people in Prince George's County do not send their children to PGCPS schools, instead choosing parochial and private schools or homeschooling. How can we bring back families who've opted out of our public school system?
Great question. I think it's really important that we do a better job telling the stories of our students, and helping people understand the excellence and the great work that happens in Prince George's County, right? You know, it's a lot of money and a lot of effort to send children out of district. I mean, I think if a a private school is $50,000 dollars a year over the course of kindergarten through 12th grade, I mean that's about $600,000 you'd spend. And then, if you took those same dollars and you invested it in a mutual fund, you'd make your children millionaires by the time they got out of college. I mean, I think if you're sending your kids to, the great schools that we have in Maryland, University of Maryland, Towson, Bowie, Morgan, the Howards of the areas, we send our kids to the same places. So it's worth it to ask yourself, um, you know, is it worth it to do a second look of our schools? And one of the things we must do is open up our schools and allow families to come in and see what's happening again. And families need to hear the stories of how children are doing. I've charged my communications team with putting on our website this year, where are they now, page. So we can highlight students who've gone through Prince George's County Public Schools and communicate some of the things that they're doing. Because I think, I don't know if it's urban myth or people are just used to sending their kids away. But you're sending them away to send them to the same places we're sending our kids. And I think it's worth it for people to ask the question, why are we doing that? And I get it. I'm a big proponent of choice. I mean, I think parents have the right to choose their child, choose a school that will best meet their child's needs. And our system's charge is to make sure that all of our public schools, are a good option, and then to let a parent decide if it's the best option. But it should be a good option, and that's what we're working towards.
Thank you. Aredempe says that I have worked in PG County for 14 years with a 17-year-old autistic son. How can you make PG County schools competitive with counties like Howard and Anne Arundel when it pertains to resources and staffing for autistic kids?
Yes, that is a big issue for us, and it's something we definitely need to work towards. I mean, our I think we have strong special education programs. I think in recent years we've had a lot of challenge with staffing and issues of staffing and support. Special education has to be a system-wide responsibility for us, and we've got to have collective ownership. Um, One of the things I think we need to do is definitely look at model programs and look at what's happening there that may not be happening here, if that's the case, and work to continuously improve. I know we have a special education parent advisory board, and I think it's important for our strong special education leadership led by Dr. Trinell Bowman to work with our parents and to answer those types of questions. But we're committed to looking at who's doing better than us on key metrics, and particularly the biggest metric is parent satisfaction and student outcomes, and continue to work towards being better. And that's something we're committed to doing. So I would encourage the parent that asked that question to be active in our special education advisory committee, sharing your experiences and working to help us get better.
Thank you. And Adavimpe also asked about aftercare for autistic children. So if we could also think about that in our planning as well.
Okay, yes, I don't know where we are with that, but that's something that we could explore.
Thank you. The next question, what are your thoughts towards the cell phone policy in the county? Should we expect any changes?
Yeah, I mean, I think with cell phones, historically, we've taken a pragmatic approach, right? We've allowed individual schools to implement tailored cell phone policies that meet their specific needs. I do think there should be some consistency, and we should have a system-wide plan but I also think that kids don't need cell phones in schools right now, is my personal opinion, because we have all the technology they need to utilize for instructional purposes. And cell phones can be a distraction. There are some states that just have done away with cell phones, like Virginia, in their schools. And I do think, we've explored giving people options, but at some point, we should have a more system-wide approach. I've not spoken with the board about that collectively yet, but I think it's coming to a theater near us soon to make a decision.
Thank you. Ms. Avita Haig, and please forgive me for pronunciations. But Ms. Haig was wondering about updates to old buildings. You spoke earlier about new schools, but are there plans to update schools currently, especially schools that have not been updated in decades?
Well, so the school system has a capital improvement budget, and in that capital improvement budget, we identify what schools are going to have what work done. So I would encourage you to get access to our capital improvement budget, because it lays out where the school system plans on spending dollars in future years, and you can see where your school is in that plan, and move from there.
Thank you. Eric Gray asks, is there a plan to increase the IT network capacity in schools that are overcrowded, such as the Charles Herbert Flowers High School?
Say that once again. Is there a plan to do what?
Plan to increase the IT network capacity in schools that are overcrowded, such as Charles Herbert Flowers High School?
I would have to investigate that. Andy Zuckerman is our chief of technology. I'm not aware of any issues at Flowers yet, but if there are, please let me know, and that's something we can explore. I mean, we should make sure that there's enough capacity for students to utilize technology, particularly in a school like Flowers, where it's a STEM program, so technology is heavily used. But in all of our schools, technology is heavily used. So if there are issues, I should be made aware of them so we can correct them. But right now, I'm not sure about any specific issues there. If you have specific concerns, please just email superintendent at pgcps.org with your thoughts, and we'll follow up.
Thank you. Parent David Tanzi asks, how can PGCPS build trust with families? My son was injured on the bus this past year. Communications regarding that incident seemed much more geared towards supporting PGCPS rather than ensuring that the parents trusted the process. What can we do to improve that relationship?
Yeah, first I would apologize for your experience. I think you should never feel like the system was not responsive or didn't treat you well. I think trust is built day by day, action by action. And I think if we do what we say, I think if we demonstrate a true care for kids, I think if we demonstrate a willingness to engage parents and be open and honest when we make mistakes, apologize, correct it, trust is built. But it happens over time, and I think all we can do is make sure, again, we follow up, we're responsive, and we genuinely work in the best interest of your children.
Thank you, Dr. Joseph. Chris asks us, what is your plan to improve nutritional meal options for students, reducing the amount of ultra-processed foods?
Yeah, it's funny. I just spoke with our student board member about that today, and said I told her one of the first things I want to do is really look at our nutrition programs and get some students on some panels and doing some taste testing and looking at what our options are. I think we've got to get kids with healthy options, and we've got to educate them about eating well. I don't think we do a good job with that. And as I'm very concerned about childhood obesity. very concerned about the diabetes that runs rampant in communities of color in particular. And I think teaching children how to make healthy choices early is in our best interest for them, not only academically, but health wise. And so, you know, we're going to be looking at our nutrition menu. I think all schools should have access to salads, for example, and salad bars and water and, you know, healthy options. And we should be, you know, teaching kids about different types of foods and vegetables and you know the dangers of meats and other things. And so, you know, I'm a proponent of that. And you'll see us having discussions and movement on that. Like I said, I just had the conversation today with our student board members. So it's at the top of list for me, and I know many students.
Thank you. Monica Lee has written that PGCPS has experienced a series of leadership transitions in recent years, which has created a sense of instability and uncertainty across the district. What steps will you take to restore trust and ensure consistent, stable leadership that allows schools and their staff and families to focus on long-term growth and student success?
Thank you for the question. I mean, it's what I'm trying to do now. You notice, like I said, my recent hires came from within up. And you know, I mean, I try to be a teacher at heart, and I think my staff will tell you that I try to model, I try to you know, put out there in advance what we're doing, why we're doing it, how we're doing it. I mean, I send a message to staff weekly to keep them updated on the work and things that are happening, and I'll start sending more communications out to parents. I think any organization, all organizations have to look at, all good organizations, I should say, really focus on, you know, promoting from within and having a succession plan. And I'm thinking about that now and working with staff to ensure that we're building capacity, that, you know, if something were to happen to me tomorrow, that there would be a multitude of people inside the organization that would be ready because they had the preparedness to move into the role. And so there's a commitment now to think about succession planning. And I've been talking to my executive staff about that. And we're actually giving people broader responsibilities and experiences so that way we do have a bench. It's important. You know, it's again, I ran the Superintendents Academy, so I understand how to build capacity, and that's what we're laying the plans to do now.
Thank you. Monica Lee shares with us that her school is currently ranked #1 in the county, but there's a stark contrast in performance and resources across many other PGCPS schools. What is your plan to level the playing field so that all students, regardless of their zip code, have access to high-quality education, facilities, and opportunities for success?
Well, I would say, you know, in Maryland, we're blessed because we have the blueprint for Maryland's future. And our state has made significant historic investments in education. And we see that as an opportunity to be creative, to dream big for our kids, and to put resources in the right places to accelerate, you know, outcomes. I mean, right now, there are stark differences, and we, as a county, you know, we focused on student-based budgeting for a long time to put dollars where they're needed, but we have to make sure that we're getting a return on investment for our dollars. I would speculate in many places we're not. It's one of the reasons in my 100-day plan, I'm specifically looking at return on investment for like our title dollars and for how we're spending our community schools dollars. I think by investing in the right things and monitoring closely, we can address the variance that we see in performance. That's going to take time. It's going to take work. It's going to take us changing practices and putting a heavier emphasis on being clear about where are kids performing, where are kids not, and if not, we have to answer the question, why not? And what will it take to move it? And so it's a very complex question you asked. The best thing I can say is leadership should decrease the variance between classrooms and between schools. And we'll be thinking about putting systems in place to do just that.
Thank you. The next question from Janelle Thomas, actually is two parts. So let me start with part number one. When designing solutions for our students across district, are you using comprehensive data models that account for criteria that may have a significant impact on their success? For example, socioeconomic status, household size, transportation, etc. And the next part of it is, are you engaging students in developing solutions and policies that directly affect them?
So, second part of your question, yes, that is the plan. And again, I spoke with the student board member to think about and talk about how we best engage students strategically in areas. Historically, when I was in Nashville, for example, I'd visit every high school and meet with groups of students as I formulated my budget, so I could run ideas I was thinking about, but hear from them about experiences and make sure that the budget represented things that students felt and needed. The first part of your question, yes, it's very complex. I think I'm a qualitative researcher by I guess by training. Therefore, I try to listen, see, understand, process, clarify things, and then also bring in quantitative metrics to just understand what is, how did we get here, how do we move forward, and then look at research-based strategies to pilot, to try to see if you get result and then scale. Like, I'm big on piloting things. If we see things working, then figuring out how to scale that thing that works. And so that's my approach to most things. I mean, we're a big, complex district, and so you've got to test things, see a result, and then work to scale over time. So that's what makes it hard to move a large district, is that you've got so many different factors, so many different elements, and you've got to just test theories and see what works. And if you see something working, then figure out if you can scale it, knowing that sometimes you try to scale things over different areas and you get different results. It's the reason I'm speaking to each district by district, because I'm very conscious of the fact that our district is not the same across the county. We've got very different communities with very different needs that might need very different things. And so I take that approach, just community by community, seeing what the need is and seeing what fits. And to do that, you've got to work with the people closest to the issues at hand. So the teachers in a particular region, the parents in a particular region, the students in a particular region, to get the best outcome. That we can never be a one-size-fits-all place. We're just too big, complex, and diverse.
Thank you. A parent has a question about how can we address their perception of what we have as bad policy on discipline and a lack of consequences.
Yeah, well, we're working on, we have a revised student handbook. I think if you have specific questions about what's bad, or thoughts about what's bad, that'd be, please share. I do think, we've got to make sure schools have clear frameworks that support and address behaviors, and our students who demonstrate they're dangerous shouldn't be in our schools. And we have things in place to help them, and we have to work on that. I mean, and that's the work we have. But I think previous boards have made significant investments in increasing school-based personnel, such as psychologists, nurses, clinicians, pupil personnel workers, community school coordinators. The district has been working with a company called Hazel Health to provide virtual counseling for folks, and we have a app called the Prosper app to support student self-care. And, you know, in 2024, we had a $25 million grant from the Maryland Community Health Resources Commission to expand partnerships for 18 local healthcare providers. And coming soon, we're going to have wellness centers in partnership with Children's Hospital that will, you know, support a lot of our work. And the goal is over 3 years to have district-wide access. So, you know, we've got to be stern and make sure the place is safe, but we also have to acknowledge a lot of our students need additional supports, both mental health supports, social supports, and just community supports. And we've got to be able to support providing access for students so they can grow, be whole, and be productive citizens.
Thank you. Here's a question about bus driver shortages. How will bus driver shortages be addressed? Also, will the bus tracking app, known as Stop Finder, be updated or changed this year?
Great question. I'm telling you, I wake up and go to sleep thinking about these doggone buses. I'm telling you, this morning, I convened a meeting this morning with a number of my team members just talking about that. Right now, we have about 137 bus vacancies. If we don't address them, it's going to be problematic. And quite frankly, it takes about 6 weeks to get a bus driver ready to go. So we can anticipate we're going to have challenges at the beginning of this year, simply because you got 137 routes that need to be filled. And there's no way to hire somebody and get them ready by the time a school starts at this point, unfortunately. But having said that, we are dramatically ratcheting up our communication about the great opportunity community members have to serve as bus drivers. You're going to see in the coming days a blitz communicating about the great benefits package we have, particularly if you're an entrepreneur, particularly if you have, you know, some flexibility in your schedule, like, you know, you work for the police department or the fire department and you have a two days or 3 days kind of off, or if you're a college student, or if you're someone working in our system that doesn't earn quite what a bus driver earns in that potential, we're going to be targeting you to come consider driving for us. You know, we fully train you and make sure you understand the training and the process. We're going to make sure you get paid early and brought in quicker. So you're going to see and hear a blitz. We're going to start radio ads, social media campaigns to push, because even though we're behind, we don't want to stay behind. And I think we have to actively work, and you will see us actively working hard to try to fill those vacancies. You know, as it relates to the technology, we did hear the community's frustration with Stop Finder, and we're going to be piloting a new parent app called Chipmunk in the fall that will start with just our special education buses. But I spoke with Dr. Coleman, who's our chief operating officer today, and told him, quite frankly, I'm a little nervous and concerned that we're only piloting one thing, because what if it doesn't work? And quite frankly, you know, you look at, you know, somebody who looks up Chipmunk, it doesn't necessarily say it's the end all be all that's going to solve our problems. So I've encouraged him to continue to look at other options for us, so we have more than just one piloting option. So you may hear about something else soon, because I know I was speaking to colleagues in Howard County about what they use. I think they use something called Zulu or something like that, or, you know, so I think we just have to look at multiple options, as it's a complex problem. But the app that we are going to be rolling out will provide real-time bus location and ETA data, and hopefully that'll alleviate some of the frustrations that we've seen with families. And in tandem, we're installing about 1,200 tablets to school buses to help improve the GPS. But I anticipate, you know, it's going to be a challenge, and it's just, it's a challenge everywhere in large districts. I mean, I know my colleagues in Montgomery County, Anne Arundel County, Baltimore County, Baltimore City, we're all challenged with this getting Charles County as well. Look, we're all challenged with working on this. And I think what we can do better is communicate with families. So we know that we have 137 routes that need to be filled. Where are they? What are the families? Where are the families there? How do we better communicate with families on what to expect, and possibly looking at alternative options to the bus to get to school to start while we're working on this. But our commitment is we're going to communicate better. We're going to pilot many things and work to make things better than they were. Though, you know, again, with 137 vacancies right now, it's clearly not going to be perfect when we start. So we have to brace for that.
Thank you. Here's a question about cuts in federal funding. What is your plan to ensure sufficient accommodations and programs, ensure that they continue to be available for special education students within our boundary or neighborhood schools?
Yeah, like I said, special education will be a school system priority. I've been working with Dr. Bowman since day one here, looking at our vacancies, looking at what's needed, particularly with are we complying with our IEPs, making sure we're communicating and working with our families. You know, we just got information from the federal government about the 21st Century grants that they have been now released. As a school district, we did not apply for the 21st Century grant as a district. We do benefit because community organizations did apply and will be working with our schools, but the system didn't itself. You know, federal dollars constitute about 12 to 13% of our budget. So it's a smaller part of our budget, but it's still significant. We did take a 9% cut in our Title I dollars, but in the last budget cycle, we budgeted for a 20% loss. So, you know, it won't affect us more than what the last budget and the set of cuts that happened last year affect us for that component. But we'll still monitor closely. And again, my big thing is making sure the dollars we have an impact. And so in my 100 days, we're looking at the return on investment in our title dollars. And if we don't see dollars are being used wisely, we'll repurpose them.
Thank you. One of our attendees asked, how is PGCPS examining the role of school culture in contributing to student mental health? We are concerned because specialty school tag program puts tremendous emphasis on grades and achievement to the point where students are anxious, stressed, and identifying their sense of worth with their grades. This is to the detriment of promoting deeper learning and ensuring that we're building lifelong learners who are prepared for a rapidly changing world.
Thank you for sharing that. I mean, right, we know from research that you know, when children are stressed, they're not going to produce their best work. And so I do think we need to have better you know, better ways to assess how children are feeling and what's happening. Like I said, I know we've invested in a lot of mental health supports. I don't know how effective they've been. We've been in coordinating those supports and the impact of those supports. And that's something we have to be committed to looking at. But we shouldn't be overstressing students. You know, and I do think if that's happening, I think it's important for parents to communicate that to the principal, to the teachers, and I would expect principals and teachers to make adjustments to their practices if they see what they're doing is having a negative impact on kids.
Thank you. So we have a few more questions, and I know we want to get to your sharing in just a moment. I'm working to combine some questions that are similar. There's a couple of questions about the relationship between our charter schools and our comprehensive schools in Prince George's County Public Schools. What is your vision for making sure that those two modes of instruction work well together? Do they have joint PD? Do they meet regularly to share ideas, etc.?
Yeah, first, let me say, I don't see a difference between charter schools and our public schools. They're all of our schools. I mean, just today, I visited Legends Charter School, and just because I was invited, and so I went and spent a wonderful hour and a half with the CEO and the one of the co founders there, and it was a wonderful experience, wonderful school, and they shared a lots of things that are working and not working in the partnership. I mean, I think we should be learning from charter schools, and we should be providing supports to charter schools, and charter schools can learn some stuff from some of our schools. But I'm a believer that we should be sharing and finding structures to connect, right? The more connection, the less correction. And I've got a history of working collaboratively with charters, and I hope to continue that this year.
Thank you. A question I think is from Josh Durant. My experience with the school system so far has demonstrated to me that the school system largely sees parents as oppositional to the school system. I've heard many teachers and administrators voice hesitancy and reluctance to allow parents to volunteer on school grounds and in classroom. How do we change this relationship to make it more of a partnership?
Yep. Yeah, so I think it starts at the policy level, because I think if the board communicates a vision, mission, and how we're expected to go about business, that's a step one. Changing the policy and making the policy more inclusive with the expectation that parents are partners and delineate what partnership means. I think that's really important. Then we have to make sure that we've got an infrastructure to build parents' capacity to engage with the district. It's the reason I've asked Dr. Jackson to reestablish our parent PTO and to get that up and functional again. And we've got to get, our school level parent organizations up and active. And we've got to have an expectation and opportunities to collaborate, talk, and communicate, to share expectations and to reculture in this work. But you have my commitment to do it. Like I said, it's the most important thing we can do, because when parents are engaged, students just do better, and parents hold us accountable for providing an appropriate education. We need more demand parents. I think you cannot move a school system without demand parents, period. And so we'll work to do that. But I think if we get the policy right, I think if we set the expectations, I think if people see from the top that we're not just talking about it, we're actually executing on it, people change. And if people don't follow order and want to not adhere to policy, then they will no longer be with us. I mean, I can't say it any clearer.
Thank you. Tracy Johnson writes, as a parent and community member, I've noticed that while many corporations are welcomed into our county, bringing development and revenue, there doesn't seem to be a clear, consistent strategy for leveraging these partnerships to directly support our students beyond just building new schools. What steps is the district taking to ensure that these companies are also investing in meaningful educational resources, programs, and opportunities for our students?
Yeah, I think that's a good conversation to have with our county council, with our county executive. And And also, I think we have to engage as a school system with our Chamber of Commerce and with the broader business community to look for opportunities. Particularly, I mean, one of the things that I think we can have a quick win on is the expansion of apprenticeship opportunities in our county. We've got a lot of good industry here, and being more intentional about that engagement is work that we need to do. Step one is to create a structure for us to meet often and to kind of co-create and co-dream together. I don't know if we have those structures in place, like we have like exist in other parts of the country. But that's something we should work on, and it's something that's again at the top of the list for me to think about.
Thank you, Dr. Joseph. It is now 7:11. I would like to give you an opportunity to go ahead and share some of your big thoughts about moving our district forward. And the other questions are just a few that are left unanswered, but we hope that your presentation will answer those for our participants.
And I promise to move through quickly, so that way if I don't answer it, we can answer it at the end.
Okay.
All right, but look, I have 6 priorities. Priority 1 is just engaging with the board and coming up with what are we going to do first, second, and third. Looking at our budget, making sure that our budget aligns to our strategic goals, and being clear about how we work together and how we communicate. Right, and if we go to goal 2, keep going. Yep. Goal 2 is about talent. I mean, this is it. I mean, no organization can exceed the capacity of its talent. So goal 2 is really about ensuring that we are adequately staffed, that we have good people, that we're training good people, and that we're thinking long-term about the blueprint for Maryland's future and what the goals are there, and we're prepared to lead in that area. Next slide. And it's also about working to establish strong collaborations with all of our unions. That's important. We have to work as one collective Prince George's County, and bring people to the table and get them in the sausage making, so we can move clearly in a unified fashion. And so we'll be looking. Something you're going to see coming up in the next week or so. We're going to have dashboards. Those dashboards will help the community see where we are with our staffing, with our compliance and special education. Do we have special education teachers? Do we have paraeducators? All of those things are important. I think you cannot manage a secret, and so I want to make public those things, which we must hold ourselves accountable to if we're going to improve. Next slide. Next. I think, we're here to make sure students, meet the Maryland state standards in all content areas. And as we work at the beginning of this year, what's important for me is to first answer the question for kids who are in school most of the time, are they growing adequately? All right, like we've got to answer that question. So I have our accountability team right now sorting through last year's data to make a determination on in which schools are kids growing adequately in reading, mathematics, science, which schools are they not growing in reading, math, and science, which students, in which schools are they exceeding growth. Because we have to have a strategy when they're not meeting growth. And if they're exceeding growth, we want to know what's happening there to see if it's something we can scale across the board. And again, I've talked a lot about, looking at return on investment. We're going to spend time doing that because, again, particularly in these moments where we don't have lots of dollars, we've got to make sure the dollars we have are having an impact. Next slide. And again, I talked a little bit about the blueprint for Maryland's future. Again, this state has made significant investments. And, I don't think people know that here in Prince George's County, we have more nationally certified teachers in almost any place in the state. I mean, these are the best of the best teachers that have demonstrated that they are willing to commit to their craft and get national recognition for their knowledge and expertise. We've got to grow that, and we've also one of the things the blueprint asked us to do is make sure that at a minimum, teachers started off with $60,000 a year. Well, that's a goal for next year. We were able to accomplish that in this year's tentative agreement with PGCEA, and proud that we're able to do it a year in advance. It also talks to the need for building teacher capacity and leadership capacity and lots of other things, looking at early childhood work, how we use dollars. So right now, in my first 100 days, I'm looking to see, well, this is what the state said we should do. Where are we actually, and are we actually doing it? What needs to be done? We had two different plans. We had the Maryland plan that we were working from, and then we had a strategic plan we were working from. In my mind, we should only have one plan, because when you got too many plans, people get confused, things don't happen, and balls drop. And so, in this first 100 days is, for me, understanding where we are with the expectations of the blueprint, and then having a vision on how we want to move forward. Next slide. Again, community engagement is critical. We have these 9 virtual sessions that I'm doing in the districts, but we're also going to have 9 in-person sessions where we can engage in person. I think it's important that I listen deeply before we build any plans, that I'm clear about what our community's expectations are, and we build a sense of trust with one another. I'm running around listening and engaging in these first 100 days, because ultimately we're going to have to move from this 100-day plan to a strategic planning process. And in that strategic plan, it'll be kind of our public commitment of where we're going and how we're going to align our budgets and plans to, make Prince George's County one of the best places to work and learn in the country. Next slide. Next slide. And finally, operations. Look, we got a lot of old buildings, but you can have an old building, but it should be clean. The grass should be cut. They should have materials, resources, support, supplies. The heating systems should work. And I know air conditioning is a challenge, so I'm not even gonna go there, right? Because we got old buildings. But right now, it's getting a sense of where we are, making sure the supplies are there. But again, everybody should have clean, comfortable buildings. And so in the first 100 days, I'm looking to get an understanding of where we are, what the need areas are, and how we work to support that. And also thinking about our technology. I mean, technology is changing the world right now, and we can't run from it. We've got to get ahead of it, embrace it, and allow our students to benefit from it. So thinking through what we're doing in those areas is at top of mind for me. Yeah, so those are the 6 areas that I will be covering in these 100 days. So please take a moment to look at the plans, ask me questions, and when we come out in person, I can tell you what I'm learning. I'm going to be giving updates to the board. Our first board meeting that we meet in person again, I believe, is around August 21st or somewhere, 21st, 24th, somewhere. I think August 21st. I'll give an update on the first 30 days, and then I'll give another one probably at the end of September on the first 60 days, and then on the first 100 days when we conclude. Because again, it's important for me that the public knows what we're doing, how we're doing, why we're doing, so we can truly partner to give our kids the excellence they deserve. And Dr. Jackson, I'll turn it back over. So if we got any more questions here before we wrap up?
We do have a few more. I'm sorry, sir, I clicked on the wrong ones. Let me get right back down. We have a question again about supporting schools. In what way will we be able to support principals more strongly this year with their operational, as far as building repairs, onboarding of staff? Any updates about that?
Yeah, I don't know what parents can do right now with building repair, but on onboarding staff, I think working with your principals to help celebrate staff, to help staff understand your communities. I mean, look, we got we have kids in our communities, and I think sometimes our staff do not always get out to the community or understand the cultural context of the community. So I think parents can collaborate with principals, for example, to share their stories and their experiences at faculty meetings. I mean, that's powerful. I remember when I was in Montgomery County, 15, 16 years ago, we had something called study circles. And it was an opportunity for parents and staff to come together to talk about their experiences, and particularly their cultural experiences and some of the challenges and opportunities that they had to learn more from one another. Right? That was an excellent program to help staff understand the perceptions of parents and students, and I think that's something parents can really help us on.
Thank you. Amy Sawyer is asking if you are aware of the OLP, Outdoor Learning Partnerships, that were established by Governor Wes Moore in 2024. Their intent is to empower all of Maryland's youth to grow as environmental stewards. And she was just asking if you were aware of it, and she said she could send you an invite in case you needed that.
Please send me an invite because I'm not aware, but I would love to be more aware.
Thank you. Thank you. And then many of your questions have been answered in your presentation. We had a couple of parents that were concerned that their child's needs were not being met, whether they were autistic or whether they were learners in the comprehensive program. And I think you invited all of them to, if they're autistic children, to reach out to Dr. Trinell Bowman. Is that correct? In special education?
And there's a special education parent advisory that I think is informative that she works through to hear parents' perspective.
You.
I think that would be a good place to start to share those experiences. But I definitely have heard from multiple listening and learning sessions about our autism program. So I have a mental note to ask more specific questions about that.
Thank you, sir. Then on that note, it looks like all 41 of our 43 questions have been answered. The other ones we can follow up individually on. They're specific to certain needs. But we want to thank everyone for participating in tonight's session. At one point, we had as many as 135 attendees, and we just want to thank you, District 4, for having such a strong showing tonight and so many important questions that have been asked. As I said, this session has been recorded and it will be posted on the appropriate site on our website, so that those members of your community who were not able to join us tonight can partake in that learning with us. And we invite you, and I think our IT partner is getting ready to show our closing video, but there will be opportunities for you to participate further. So I'm going to go ahead and turn things over to Mrs. Megan Eric. thank you everyone for being with us tonight. Again, Dr. Sheila Jackson, Director of our Department of Family and Community Partnerships. We invite you to please stay in touch with us at pgcps.org. If you have any questions, again, our interim superintendent shared his email address with you. Ask questions. Please stay engaged with us, and we will be making sure that you are invited to any of the sessions that move forward with us. The in-person are coming up in August and September, so please stay tuned as those dates will be published shortly, and the locations as well. Again, thank you. And I see that someone has dropped into the chat box our evaluation link. It will be sent to you as well tomorrow morning, just to make sure we can get as much feedback as possible. I'd like to thank Dr. Jennifer Love and our interpretation team who's been with us tonight, whether it's simultaneous interpretation or our ASL interpretation. They are always here to serve our community. Also would like to thank our other IT staff that have been with us to make sure that these meetings flow well and then everything works well. We thank Dr. Joseph and his executive staff for making sure that all of us are learning together, growing together. Again, the power of us working together is what will make a difference in Prince George's County Public Schools. So have a wonderful evening. We look forward to seeing you in person next month. And of course, I want to thank our comms team as well. Thank you.